Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 11. Thank you so much for joining me today.
You're listening to Designing Midlife, a podcast about today's midlife woman. Ladies, we're more youthful, active, and demanding than any midlife generation before. Join Taj as she dispels the notion of crisis, learn to conquer in all facets from health to career, and design the midlife of your dreams.
March is here, and it's a big month for me. I love March. We welcome the spring season and longer days filled with more sunshine. March happens to be my birthday month. It's also Women's History Month. And from my child, it's spring break. For the first time, actually, my son's spring break week and my birthday week are totally aligned. So we have decided to travel. It's probably, no, it is, in fact, the first time we're going on a flight since COVID, and we're headed cross country. So, yeah, fingers crossed. I hope it all goes well. This is a solo episode for me. I kind of want to just quickly update you on what's been going on for the past few weeks in my life. It's a short one. Regrettably, I've experienced 3 deaths in my family over the past 3 weeks, actually. The first was my mom's brother, my uncle. The On the day of that funeral was we got news of my dad's sister, his closest sister, actually. That they've probably talked every day, several times a day, their entire lives. And most recently, my high school bestie's dad, who I've revered so highly my entire life, and was kind of sort of like my own high school dad as well. So that's been tough. Uh, Although they say deaths comes in threes, and I don't know why they say that, by the way, other than it always being true. What I've come to realize for myself is that I've processed these most recent deaths a lot differently and with very deep reflection. I find myself having thoughts like, is this my new reality? Will I be going to a lot more funerals now because of my age, right? Um, because they used to be my age when I was younger. And now, for a variety of reasons, it feels like everyone is kind of going, and the sadness around me just runs really wide and really deep. And to see other people experiencing the loss and going through their grief has just been different this time, and I don't know how else to say it. Coincidentally, I also had 2 other very close friends that were going to funerals these past couple of weeks, and so that even made the emotion a bit heightened for me, I guess. And so, how have I coped? Well, with all things being me, when I start to feel a bit out of control, my natural reflex is research. If you've heard earlier episodes where I share my health scares, that's kind of what I do. I buckle down and I start to read. I find for me, there's no better feeling than the feeling of empowering myself with information to process what's happening. And that doesn't mean that I'm going to be able to fix it right away, but I kind of find that in some way, it just gives me the tools to, in some sense, lead me in the right path. The most helpful and encouraging resource that I found during my research was actually a 2013 article on Psychology Today called Mourning and Reinvention in Midlife. So I was like, oh, whoa, yeah, I know I've been feeling different. I know I've been processing differently. And maybe I'm not crazy. It is different. Obviously, the title jumped out at me, caught my eye. But it turns out that it wasn't the type of mourning that I assumed it was implying, or the type of mourning that I felt that I've been recently going through. When I read the article, it talks about processing the mourning of what's past in life, just in general, not necessarily only people, and embracing, or how to think and embrace what could be some, in the sense of a reinvention. And the idea of that, I just thought like, wow, that's really, really interesting, but also exciting. I'd like to share some excerpts with you that I guess were my favorite that I kind that has my yellow highlights on it. For those of us with children, it's an easy cliche to understand because our parental role changes so dramatically as our children grow up. We were accustomed to being needed on an everyday basis, but teens and adult children no longer need their parents in the same way. This change in our relationship to our kids naturally requires some level of reinvention of other aspects of our lives. And many different transitions typically happen during the years from about 45 to 55. Our situation depends on where we've come from, whether we are male or female, our social and financial resources, and a good amount of luck. We might be awarded a promotion at the pinnacle of our working life, or we might find ourselves unwillingly unemployed. We might meet up with an old flame, divorce and remarry, recommit to our partnership, or finally meet the love of our lives. We might be forced to relocate or happily decide to downsize. At around this same age, 45 to 55, we also start to notice the signs of physical aging, right? Say no more on that. For the first time, we may be diagnosed with something or the other: hypertension, diabetes, whatever else comes during these years. Suddenly, we're wearing reading glasses, taking meds, and skipping dessert. And most of us find we have close friends and relatives with serious illnesses. And where I recently was, we have more funerals to attend. When we think about it, we really do start to feel the small and sometimes large losses in life on a daily basis in some way. Here comes the power of mindset and reinvention. Reinvention sounds fabulous and exciting, suggesting new possibilities and opportunities for a new you. Naturally, we sometimes feel sad, disoriented, overwhelmed by trying to look forward when we feel weighed down and tugged back. But what I'm accepting in my own life and those of friends and others who have shared their stories with me is this: sometimes the reinvention must be accompanied by mourning. So, how do we make our way towards reinvention? Making our way towards reinvention is best done along two pathways. It's what the author, Dr. Catherine Adams, calls dual process coping. One path in the process is mourning the loss actively, feeling the sadness and longing, wistfully thinking about how things used to be and no longer are. In other words, grieving. The other path involves restoration, creating a new normal, engaging in activities, making plans, the reinvention of life after loss. And here's the reality of it: we fluidly shift from one path to the other. We are surrounded by reminders of what has passed, the younger version of ourselves, of our loved ones, whether that's parents, children, siblings, friends, our former jobs or former houses, the choices we made to follow this or that career, where we are geographically, a particular romantic interest. So we find ourselves mourning in private moments while falling asleep or daydreaming, cleaning out a loved one's closet or our kids' old craft supplies, steeped deep in nostalgia. Yet we know and must believe that the future could still be a very long one. We want good health, right? In midlife. So now is the time to reevaluate our health practices, to try to do whatever we can do to feel good and stave off frailty and disability later in life. We want our lives to be of meaning and of purpose. Again, for us in midlife, it's time to think about our strengths, our talents, and how we can make the best of both to please ourselves and to serve others. And we realize in the final analysis, life is surprisingly short as well as long. Midlife is a time to dust off our hopes and dreams, our bucket lists, and just see where we stand. Yes, we should reflect on the past and take a moment to mourn. what we can no longer have or be, but we must see reinvention and excitement in the possibilities ahead. That's my short message to you today. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. Until next time, guys, one love.